Legal writing is usually less discursive than writing in other humanities subjects, and precision is more important than variety. Sentence structure should not be too complex. It is usually unnecessary to make extensive use of adjectives, or adverbs, and consistency of terms is often required. The semiconductor industry has been able to improve the performance of electric systems for more than 4 decades, by making ever smaller devices. However, this approach will soon encounter both scientific and technical limits, which is why the industry is exploring a number of alternative device technologies. For any marketing course that requires the development of a marketing plan, such as marketing management, marketing strategy, and principles of marketing. This is the only planning handbook that guides students through step-by-step creations of a customized marketing plan, while offering commercial software to aid in the process. In his landmark account, first published over 20 years ago, the author argues that the ignorance and lethargy of the poor are direct results of the whole situation of economic, social and political domination. By being kept in a situation in which critical awareness and response are practically impossible, the disadvantaged are kept submerged. Two sisters were at a dinner party when the conversation turned to upbringing. The elder sister started to say that her parents had been very strict and that she had been rather frightened of them. Her sister, younger by 2 years, interrupted in amazement. "What are you talking about?" She said, "Our parents were very lenient." It isn't rare for private equity houses to hire grads fresh out of business school, he said, but 9 times out of 10, the students who nab these jobs are the ones who had private equity experience under their belt before even starting their MBA program. The Founding Fathers established constitutional protections for the press, because they understood that leaving the watchdog function to partisan politicians wouldn't necessarily serve the public interest. Both sides have too many incentives to preserve the status quo, and ignore problems that elude quick fixes. Weakness in electronics, auto and gas station sales dragged down overall retail sales last month, but excluding those three categories, retailers enjoyed healthy increases across the board, according to government figures released Wednesday. Moreover, December sales numbers were also revised higher.
Where there are effects, there are often side effects, and not just in medicine. The car was a boon to mobility, but can lead to obesity, injuries, deaths, and pollution. Burning fossil fuels may keep economies going, but wrecks the climate in the long run. In a similar way, there are side effects to information technology in education settings, from childcare, to the classroom, to the lecture hall, and beyond.
exhilarating, exhausting and intense. There are just some of the words used to describe doing an MBA. Everyone's experience of doing MBA is, of course, different. Through denying that it's hard and demanding work whichever course you do. MBA is one of fastest growing areas of studying in the UK, so that must be sustainable benefit, against form in one pain. In Japan, tea ceremony is a ritual-like formalism, in which green tea you prepare, and serve to multiple guests in a full setting. The ceremony can take as long as 4 hours, and there are many traditional gestures that the server and the guests must perform. This book is no ordinary book, and should not be read through from beginning to end. It contains many different adventures, and the path you take will depend on the choices you make along the way. The success or failure of your mission will depend on the decisions you make, so think carefully before choosing. Long isolated from Western Europe, Russia grew up without participating in the development like the Reformation that many Russians, taking pride in their unique culture, find dubious value. Russia is, as a result, the most unusual member of European family, if indeed it is European at all. The question is still open to debate, particularly among Russians themselves. For diplomacy, the starting point must be that globalization requires bridges and removes barriers. A policy of containment is a difficult strategy in the age of the fiber optic cable, the jumbo jet and the satellite dish. There will always be the exception, such as the murderous regime in Iraq, where the only safe strategy is to keep it in the isolation ward until it accepts the norms of international behavior. Or the military dictatorship in Burma, which has persistently failed to respond to dialogue. It takes two to critically engage. The uniquely scented flavor of vanilla is second only to chocolate in popularity on the world's palate. It's also the second most expensive spice after saffron. But highly labor-intensive cultivation methods, and the plant's temperamental life cycle, and propagation mean production on a global scale, is struggling to keep up with the increasing demand for the product. This study tracked about 1,000 adults in the United States, and they ranged in age from 34 to 93, and they started the study by asking, how much stress have you experienced in the last year? They also asked, how much time have you spent helping out friends, neighbors, people in your community? And then they used public records for the next 5 years to find out who died. The free market is extremely competitive and companies are constantly trying to gain an edge over their rivals. Merchandising and brand image play a major role in attracting customers, but they often lead to overpackaging. This is a serious problem since most packaging these days are made of plastics which are not biodegradable. Some people blame the manufacturers for their blatant disregard, while others point the finger at consumers. If bonus or incentive pay schemes work so well for chief executive and bankers, why does everyone not get them? After all, many jobs involve making important decisions or taking risks. Is there anything about corporate decision and financial risks that makes these categories of work special in terms of how they need to be incentivized and rewarded? Major breeding areas and breeding islands are shown as dark green areas or darts. Open darts show no breeding records on islands, and are also used for offshore sightings, that is from ships or boats. Other areas where species is not meant to be seen are plain pale green, with pale green hatching where records are usually sparse.
Once most animals reach adulthood, they stop growing. In contrast, even plants that are thousands of years old continue to grow new needles, add new wood, and produce cones and new flowers, almost as if parts of their bodies remain forever young. The secrets of plant growth are regions of tissue that can produce cells that later develop